What is up, everybody? Sean Sheehan back here with another edition of the Sheehan Show. BetUS.com is offering our listeners an incredible 125% bonus on their deposits for UFC Fight Night Font versus Vera. Use the code SHERDOG and get $2,500 in extra money to make Fight Night even better at BetUS.com. You can not only bet on each fight, but they have loads of awesome parlay bets to choose from too. Bet live during the fights, and your winnings are paid within hours. Start the fight at betus.com. Use the code SHERDOG. Alright, everyone, today I am here to talk about PFL number 2 for 2022. All the letters coming together. Literally only finished up here moments ago, so I'm reacting immediately to it. And all in all, there was some highs, some lows in the card, but overall, I thought it was a pretty good card, a pretty entertaining card. There were some good finishes, some good knockouts, some good talking points. You know, one or two not great fights. The co-main event, not a great fight. I'll get to that in a second. But overall, I enjoyed the card. And a couple of comments, because last week we kind of, in the preview for next week's card, we talked about a few of the issues maybe that PFL had last week with production and stuff, but they really cleaned them up and sorted them out. I think for this week there was no the YouTube stream that I was watching here on Channel 4, and I believe the one in America was perfect. When it came on Channel 4 here to watch it, it was absolutely perfect as well. And, it seems like week 1 jitters for the new season were kind of over by week 2. So that was absolutely great. And overall, I like the production from PFL. I like the way they do things. I like the way they try to keep it a little bit different. If you listen to anything of mine, you probably know I'm not the biggest fan of stats when it comes to mixed martial arts, but I actually don't mind the way they do it too much, just because it's a little bit different. And I'll almost ask for anything different in mixed martial arts these days, even if I don't like it, because it's so samey and it's so, it's like just one guard after the other, after the other, after the other. And if you have something a little bit different, a little bit of a talking point even, it's not a bad thing, and I like that. Do you know what else I like? And I say this here at 4:21 a.m. I like the fact that their fights aren't 5 rounds in the main event, and other fights as well. We have too many 5-round fights. Now, I have an extremely biased view on this, considering it is 4:21 a.m. and I'm here in Ireland, so maybe my American friends listening in mightn't agree, but I think there are definitely a benefit to 5 rounds. And look, if you want a 5-round fight, you have, let's say coming up next week, we have Chandler versus Ferguson. If there's enough people thinking that should be a 5-round fight, I might even be one of them. Absolutely, let's do it. But does, Vera versus Font need to be 5 rounds? Does the Cappelozza fight tonight need to be 5 rounds? I know it didn't go that, but, do somebody, I know Bellator's just recently switched to 5-round main events. I think we need to pick and choose a little bit better. And, maybe if the fighters start campaigning and stuff, we can, you don't have to hold back an awful lot. You can do it. Maybe every fighter will campaign then. But I actually think it's maybe a sign of progression that we've showed in the last few years that mightn't actually be a good progression. There's some fights that absolutely warrant 5 rounds no matter where they are in the card, like Ioane and Jacek and Zhang Weili, and others like that. But and there's other fights then that don't warrant it and get it. So I think that's something PFL do very well. Just they keep it in the regular season with 3 rounds thrown, and I love that. I think it's very, very good. Obviously the no elbows and stuff as well is one thing I don't think we mentioned last week, but it's an understandable rule. I don't necessarily like it that much, because it's not like your regular normal MMA. Then we used to talk about that as well with, Demetrius Johnson going over into the soccer kicks and everything like that. It changes the sport a lot in lots of different ways, and it definitely does change some of these fights that you can't throw elbows. But look, the fact that they'll be fighting again in a few weeks, you can't do it because cuts don't recover that quickly. So all in all, I think good from PFL for the second week. The first week as well was pretty good, and no complaints for me anyway. I thought the commentary was good as well. I'm a big fan of the three guys they have there now. Like, I think Randy and Kenny have both improved a lot over the years. You know, they got a lot of criticism when they were back in the UFC. I think Kenny, especially, not just because I was on his podcast this week, I've said this previously as well. I think he's a guy who I may not have been the biggest fan of him years ago, but I am now. I think he's a very, very good commentator, and he does a good job in PFL, and Sean O'Connell as well. Apart from their wacky algorithm thing with the scoring, which he seems to love, I think he's brilliant too. And I'd love to see him maybe in the UFC in the future, or keep doing the PFL and do some UFC as well. I think he's fantastic at it. Obviously, being an ex-fighter as well, I'm sure that helps in different ways. So a great commentary. I love their ring announcers. I obviously came over from the WWE, and I think she's very, very good. And if the one thing, Brett Okamoto, I like some of the stuff he does backstage. I don't like it during the fight, and this is not just a PFL thing. This is a UFC thing as well. Even when they come to corners during the fight, I just don't think it makes sense a lot of the time. Now you're coming to a journalist backstage during the fight. I think that really doesn't make any sense. So I don't. That was one part I wouldn't like. But other than that, yeah, very good. They did a Kayla Harrison preview as well, kind of a clip, like maybe a minute or two. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I'll talk more about that on my preview for next week. So let's get into some of the results. The undercard was. It started off the card with 4 decisions in a row. Alejandro Flores beat Saba Bolaghi in the opener. Flores was just a little bit too quick on the outside. He stopped the takedowns all evening. Hurt him with about 90 seconds left in the third, and I think that kind of secured the win if he needed it securing. So a good performance from Flores there, and he won the unanimous decision, as did Sheymon Moraes, who beats Boston Salmon. Salmon landed a good hard early shot, and it was relatively even on the feet, but the real story of this fight was the clinch and the takedowns of Moraes and how he won it there, and he landed shots from there as well, and he ended up taking the unanimous decision as well. Not two mighty fights to start it off. Either was the third fight, where Klidson Abreu ended up winning the unanimous decision. It was very emotional afterwards. Again, lots of takedowns, lots of grappling here, but a good dominant win, and I think he ended up winning all 3 rounds in the judges' scorecards. The best fight of the early goings to me of the 4 was the Bubba Jenkins Kyle Bochniak fight. Jenkins looked money early. He really did. That step in right hook to straight left was very, very good. That shot was landing constantly throughout the early goings of the fight. Got a nice takedown and a suplex as well in round 1. Round 2 a little bit closer, without a shadow of a doubt. I still thought Jenkins was doing enough. Bochniak then was winning the third. Jenkins landed a takedown, but the fight was taken down to the ground, but Jenkins got a big kind of welt in his eye, or whatever you want to call it. His eye closed up. It looked like from a shot from Bochniak, was hard to see, but when they got back up, Jenkins did get the takedown. When Kyle got back up, he did well in the last 2 minutes as well, and I thought secured that round. 29-28, I think, to Jenkins was the right card, and that's what he got unanimously across the board there. The heavyweights then, obviously, the first 2 fights, the Moraes and Garcia and the Jenkins fight, were in the featherweight division. The Abreu fight was in the heavyweight division as well. And then Ante Delija got the KO in the second round against Matheus Scheffel. Delija, lots of takedowns in the first round, and I was talking about it last week in the preview, and sometimes you see this like Croatian kickboxer, and I kind of have to remind myself, yes, he is a takedown artist as well, and I think I reminded everyone as well last week in the preview, and he did a lot of that. Got a jab and a knockdown as well in that round. Round 2 then, the right hand knockdown. The referee, I thought it was a little bit early, but then they looked at Scheffel and he looked very, very hurt, so you can't complain about it too much. I think the way he went down on both of those knockdowns was very kind of odd. I don't know, was it a function of kind of maybe he doesn't do as much sparring and stuff as other people? I don't know. Or maybe he's just trying to move his head, and the fact he's moving his head at the same time as he gets hit, he just goes down in a very kind of odd fashion. The knockout, I suppose, was an even odder one, because he got hit in the nose, and it kind of shocked him back, and he kind of I don't know what you would call, like, flopped backwards, and he kind of got straight back up, but the referee was already in stopping it by the time he kind of got back up. But as I said, they showed him afterwards, which I'm not the biggest fan of, because you're not stopping it afterwards, you're stopping it when you're stopping it, you know. But he did look bad afterwards, so I can't complain too much. But, you know, a nice win for Delija. I think he was going on, and I think he was going to win the fight anyway, but that's no excuse. Like, I do think it was a little bit of an early stoppage, but when you go down the way that you know, that he went down, or that Scheffel went down on both of those knockdowns, especially after the first one, you looked hurt and it was a jab. I think the fact that he threw the jab and then he kind of went backwards and he threw the right hand, the fact that he missed the right hand but still fell down was actually like, it looked like a really bad knockdown, but it actually wasn't that bad because he didn't land the second shot, and then he immediately recovered. It was one of those ones like, well, how is this guy recovered so quickly? And then the second one was a similar one. He got hit in the nose, as I said, went flopping down, and the referee thought he was hurt the first time. If he's hurt again the second time, he saved the fighter, and you can't complain too much about that. Let's talk about fighter safety, and he got the fighter out of there safely anyway. One guy who didn't get out of there safely was Cody Goodale, who went in there with Denis Gostilov and got Denis Gostilov. Takedown, ground and pound, easy. That was basically it. Gostilov does what he does. We talked about him last week. What is it, a 2-time semi-finalist? He's one of the best guys here in this division, and you know, I'll talk about the heavyweight division again in a second, but Gostilov, I think, kind of kicked it off here with himself and Delija thereabouts every year, it seems like, in the PFL now, with Cappelozza and a few others as well. And it's a very exciting heavyweight division there. I'll get into more of that in a second, but let me just tell you, UFC Fight Night, Font versus Vera is more fun when you bet at BetUS.com. Use the code SHERDOG and get an incredible 125% bonus up to $2,500. Font at the moment is a clear favourite, so get in now or even choose to bet by TKO to increase your winnings. At BetUS.com, you can make the fights even more fun by betting throughout the fights. Start the fight at BetUS.com. Use that code SHERDOG. The next heavyweight fight then after Gostilov and Delija was Renan Ferreira, who went in there in 25 seconds and just took out Jamel Jones. Like, I was watching this as they were both walking out, and you're thinking to yourself, these guys are absolute behemoths. As I try to fix my hair in here beautifully. Just two big, strong, muscular, 250, 260 pound animals coming out there, and I was like, oh God almighty, someone's getting hurt there, and someone's getting hurt quick, and that's exactly what happened. Ferreira came out and he threw that front kick right up through the middle, the big long Steven Seagal front kick, missed it, but his opponent then didn't think he was going to throw it again, and Jones kind of stepped inside a little. Maybe he was thinking there was an uppercut coming, or a right hand or a jab or something. Stepped down, and as he did, he threw the front kick again. So doubling up on that front kick is something very unusual. I don't know if I've ever seen that in MMA before. I'm sure I have, but I haven't seen it this successful. And as he threw the front kick, the knee landed, or the shin even landed on the way up. And I think, as Rebecca Hitman pointed out over on Twitter, it wasn't a kick knockout. This was absolutely a ground and pound finish, because he landed loads of shots on the ground and ended up getting the finish there with a beautiful knockout. And there's lots of prospective fights we could be talking about here. We'll talk about the main event, the heavyweights, in a second, but Delija versus Gostilov versus Ferreira, how's that going to go? Delija versus Ferreira, there's combinations of fights we've seen before. Abreu, where's he going to go? I think him versus Gostilov would be interesting after the both of the ways they fought, so it'd be very, very interesting to see how these guys go and see how they match them up. But I'm excited by this heavyweight division, and we'll talk about it more obviously after, when I get to the main event. We'll skip the Brendan Loughnane fight for a second. I'll come back to that. Let's talk about Chris Wade versus Lance Palmer. This was probably the most disappointing fight of the night in terms of excitement and anything like that. Wade poked Palmer very early in the fight. And do you know what? I actually think that changed the fight a little bit. Palmer wasn't himself after that. It was a close first round where Palmer was throwing the big shots, and I think, Sean O'Connell kind of made the mistake of saying, he is landing the more effective shots. I think he was throwing the prospectively more effective shots. I don't necessarily think he was landing them, but Wade was landing. He was also landing some nice body kicks. That kind of front or side kick, not front kick, side kick to the body was nice. Palmer did land a couple of nice left hands in round 1 and round 2, but I just didn't think it was enough, especially round 2. Wade landed a couple of nice jabs. Palmer only went for a takedown in the third, got it, but Wade got right back up. And Wade, I think was well ahead in round 3. Lance landed a nice late left hand again to make it a little bit closer, but I didn't think it was enough. Wade ended up winning the unanimous decision. I had him winning every round. I think he did win every round, to be honest, and it was as easy a fight against Lance Palmer as you're going to get. I wonder, it's funny, it feels like PFL and World Series of Fighting before it hasn't been around for that long, but it feels like Lance Palmer's almost given his whole career, and now he's maybe out the other side of his prime after it in that one organisation. And it's mad to think that, it seems like, it only started up yesterday, but it feels like that is the situation with him now here. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm reading into it too much, maybe I'm overreacting a little bit, but I didn't think his performance was great. 34 years of age now, 28 fights into his career, making his debut back in 2011, and obviously coming into World Series of Fighting in 2013 and being, there / the PFL ever since. It's been a long career for him when you look at it in that way, and he fought some good guys and he's won most of them, but now he's lost 3 in a row to Bubba Jenkins, Cappelozza, and now Chris Wade in the last 2 years. So it's a big next fight here, I think, for Lance Palmer to see where he goes and see what the situation is for him. Maybe it's time to move on for the PFL and try something else, or maybe it's time to step away from it, while you still have everything intact. He's had a great career. He's a lot of money in the bank as well, won 2 championships, but I'm not calling for Lance Palmer's retirement or anything, but he does look like, to me, like a guy who's missed a step. Now, let me say this as well, it was a bad matchup, I think. Wade is a good wrestler, he's a good striker, he's long and tall, he's very big, and when someone like a little bit smaller like Palmer is in there, he can struggle in those matchups. So, not to write off Lance Palmer or anything, but I would love a guy who's kind of achieved it all in the PFL and World Series of Fighting to either move on and try somewhere else if he wants to do that, or sail off into the sunset with his 2 million quid in his back pocket. I think it might be time. But look, let's see. He could come in and he could fight maybe Brendan Loughnane and finish him in the next fight or something, and we'll see how that goes. Speaking of Brendan Loughnane, he had probably the most controversial fight, I suppose, of the night. It ended again. April is the month of no contest technical decisions. This fight went exactly 3 minutes. I'm just looking here on Sherdog.com of the third round. There was a bad cut on Kudo's head after he kind of came in for a takedown. Loughnane was bending down. It was a completely accidental. You couldn't in a million miles argue that this was a headbutt or anything like this. It was a clash of heads. Neither guy with even an ounce of responsibility for this one. Although some people out there will tell you it should have been disqualification, I bet. But lots of people tell you lots of things. That doesn't mean they're right. But yeah, the fight ended there anyway. And do you know what? I think Brendan Loughnane might count himself a little bit lucky here, because the fight started and Kudo had the better of it. He landed a hard knockdown in the first round. Loughnane, his manager Malky Kawa tweeted afterwards that he took in a serious injury, and he looked like he had a bad injury. He looked like, I don't know, was it his left knee maybe? Because he kind of was stepping on it. After he kind of got pushed back at one stage, he stepped down, he almost fell backwards. It just looked like he wasn't great in that knee at all. Now maybe, he had 2 knee straps on as well, so maybe that was to kind of steer us away from it. It could have been an ankle, it could have been a hamstring or something like that, but it definitely, to me, it looked like his left leg. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it was the right leg going to the left leg, but he looked unsteady on it and he got caught. Now, I watched Kudo coming into this for the preview last week, and I said that I thought this would be a close fight. He's a good fighter. It's, Loughnane injured, okay, maybe made it a little bit closer. Maybe Loughnane would have blown him away if he didn't. Well, Kudo's a good fighter, and give him his kudos to steal a joke from Andy Couture. he made this fight a close fight, and he did a great job. And if it's, I saw someone saying, if this is pride rules, he wins. And he does. He absolutely does. Knocked him down hard in the first. The second was very close. I thought Kudo was winning early. Loughnane came really, really back into it, though. Won probably 3.5 minutes of that round. And there was a very interesting exchange the last seconds of the round where both guys landed, and it was very hard to see live. I went back and I watched it, and Brendan landed. It was kind of I think it was a jab. It was hard to see from the angle of what it was, but he landed a shot anyway, and Kudo fell down. And it was it was a knockdown. You'd have to call it a knockdown. So if there's a judge behind that, a judge looking straight at that, that's one of those ones with that being in the arena, you would actually see it easier than see it on TV because of the angle, if you get me. And I think that was maybe the shot that had the judges swaying towards Loughnane in that second, even though I do think he was slightly ahead anyway. But when something like that, a big moment in the fight happens like that late, and it seems like Loughnane got the better of it, that is going to sway a judge to definitely give it to Loughnane. No, I'm not saying a late takedown sways the judges. A late knockdown absolutely should sway the judges, if it's a close round, which I think the second round absolutely was. Now the third round started, Loughnane was getting takedown after takedown, pushing him against the fence, landing some good shots, not anything massive, but then the fight ends, and the clash of heads, as I mentioned earlier, happens, goes to a technical decision. Kudo won the first, Loughnane won the third. I think everyone probably agree with that, and the second was the close one. Loughnane ended up getting in all three judges' cards. That's how I had it too. I tweeted out, you can look at my tweets before they even announced it, and I think they got it right, but it was one of those ones that it didn't feel right, if you get me. Like maybe if Loughnane had gone on and taken him down and landed some very hard shots in the ground and won the third comprehensively, we would have said, oh look, good stuff from Loughnane, he came back, won a close second and dominated third. What a comeback. But it just felt like the end of the fight was taken away a little bit from everyone. But look, kudos to Loughnane anyway. We should say that because he got knocked down hard. A lot of lads would have fallen and been gone there, with an injury coming in and everything. But he didn't. And he kept going, and fair play to him. Go back to him, and I'll mention him again. He suggested a rematch later on down the line. I like that idea. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Let's get the rematch going, PFL. Let's do that. And in the main event then, let's mention Bruno Cappelozza, because this guy's one of the best heavyweights in the world. I fully believe that. He went in there and he beat Stuart Austin, who, to be honest, actually did a lot better than I thought. He was throwing some good shots. He was pretty good defensively early, but you're fighting a guy here with unbelievable power, with good takedowns, as we saw here as well, and with a ground and pound that is going to finish many a man. Look, there isn't too much to say about it, other than he made it look easy again. I think it was 4 minutes 24 seconds or something like that. Austin put up a good battle. He tried hard. He threw his shots, looking for a few submissions even when the fight went to the ground. Like, he got Tom Aspinall in one, wasn't able to get one, unfortunately for him, and Cappelozza ended up getting the finish late, as I said, in the first round. I feel like this is the one for Cappelozza. It's a good starter, a good kind of warm-up fight for him. We will talk more about him down the line, and there are certainly guys who we can talk about him fighting, whether it's Ferreira, I think everyone is talking about that fight after tonight, or whether it's Goltsov and Delija, or one of the lads he's already met, or Abreu is obviously there as well. So some very interesting fights in that heavyweight division. And also in the featherweight division, could it be Loughnane against Palmer next, or maybe the rematch? Who's Wade going to fight? Could he fight Kudo? That's a fight I'd actually really like to see. I think that'd be a fun fight, but there's so many fun fights there from PFL over the next while. I'm looking forward to see it. And, if you didn't see this card, you could check out most of the fights. I think they were very good. Maybe skip the co-main event and a couple of the early ones, but other than that, it was a pretty good card all around for me. Alright, I will leave it there. Before I go, I must just ask you, who are you betting on this weekend at UFC Fight Night? Font versus Vera. Can Vera beat the odds and defeat Font, or is Font winning via TKO a given? Get your bets on this weekend at betus.com. Use the code SHERDOG and get a 125% bonus. betus.com has been taking bets for well over 25 years, and there's a reason. It's the #1 UFC sportsbook. With more betting options, live betting at games, betus.com is your new home for UFC betting. Start the fight at betus.com and use the code Sherdog. All right, everybody. My name is Sean Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.